Welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast channel. Join us on a transformative journey as we explore the intersection of health, well-being, and global perspectives. Each episode delves into holistic approaches that combine Eastern wisdom with Western science, offering actionable insights to enhance your mind, body, and spirit. Hosted by wellness experts Edward and Chuck and inspiring international guests, we discuss topics ranging from mindfulness and nutrition to fitness, innovation, and business. Whether you're a wellness professional, enthusiast, or someone seeking to improve your lifestyle, you'll find valuable takeaways here. Subscribe now and be part of a thriving community dedicated to creating a healthier, more balanced world. Let's grow together, one conversation at a time. New episodes every week.
First of all, the man of the hour, Chuck, it's now been about 2 weeks since your second cancer surgery. I see that you're wearing your badge of honor there today. Do you mind just sharing with us an update on your recovery progress?
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly 2 weeks today. It's healing well. Last time it was all the way over there. Had that little Frankenstein scar going. So this time it's much less. It's been great. The healing process has been amazing. I have gone super inward, which is exactly what my goal was with this time off, if you want to call it. Yeah, I just left the gym this morning, and obviously I can't lift anything right now, but I did walk a good 2 miles, and the entire time I was walking, I've been working on this Mind Valley Art of Manifestation course, and it dawned on me, I'd started this course before, and then I got busy with everything else in life and never finished it. And no wonder those things did not manifest into my life. I did not finish the course. So I'm so grateful to have this opportunity, actually, to be able to go inward and work on the things I'm trying to manifest into my life. And it was really nice to sit there, walk there and type out the things that were in this course because it gives you coursework. And then when I went to the red light room, I got to sit in the mindful meditation practice that they provide to help you manifest those things. So it's just been really cool to be able to actually have the time and opportunity to do those things. Like the other day, I was walking and I was listening to my course, and it was in a meditation, and I was like, whatever, I'll just hold on, close my eyes. And I was just thinking for a second, because I don't like thinking about what other people think about me because it's distracting. I was just thinking, how funny do I look right now if someone looked at me like this dude's just walking?
Well, the last 2 weeks of your recovery since your second cancer surgery is about on the back of a year after your previous surgery. And the recovery of your first surgery, let's say it was different to what you're doing now, following the doctor's advice pretty much to the T, keeping everything light and simple. But as we shared last week, this recovery is much, much different physically and mentally and emotionally as well. And I just had an idea that sometimes we need to practice until we get something right. So this is probably the universe telling you, hey, your recovery last year wasn't exactly ideal. Let's give you another shot at it. And that's what you're doing right now.
Yeah. It's funny how we lie to ourselves, right? I had thought, okay, this is an opportunity now where I can spend a lot of time on the business. So like you said before, I was emailing you and responding back to a bunch of work things like the day of my surgery last time, right? And I didn't take a break on anything whatsoever to go backwards and work on myself at all. So you're absolutely right. It was the universe's way of saying, this time's about you.
Focusing the energy on yourself and your recovery rather than on other things. I remember a year ago, you were hardcore into work, expending a lot of energy, putting in long hours and long days. You're still doing that now, but all of that energy now is directly focused back to you. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks to Chuck, we've got a special guest today, Alex/Joel. Alex/Joel, before we kick off, the first thing I noticed when we opened up our episode today is that beautiful photo or that painting behind you. I'm an Aussie. I grew up on the Gold Coast in Australia. Right from a very, very young age, I grew up surfing waves exactly like that. I'm interested to know, are you a beach guy? Do you live near the beach? Is this something that inspires you and that you're into?
I love the beach. I could live on the beach, and I want to retire on the beach for sure. It's funny because my wife, I live in Tampa. My wife was here before me, and I yell at her, like, I don't yell at her, but I say, like, what? Like, we live like 45 minutes from the beach, like totally landlocked. It's Tampa, but it's not like what you envision when you think Tampa. So it takes us like an hour to get to the beach. I'm like, you moved here from Maryland, where I'm from too, and you picked a place that's an hour from the beach. Like you should have already been living in a condo on the ocean by the time I got down here. But that's where we'll retire there though. But the cool thing about this painting is, so I'm in real estate, and I sell a lot of houses for like people that have passed away, like, and they just leave the stuff behind. And the sellers on this property, they live in Canada. They never even seen the house, and I saw this painting in there, and the people that were buying it were going to throw everything away, and I just acquire so many cool little things, and this painting was one of them. It's like this is some original painting. I looked the guy up, and he's like well known of some sort. I looked it up. Yeah, funny thing is, at first I looked it up. Like, how much is it worth? Right, like that was. And it was, and my assistant looked it up and said it's worth $450, and he looked at me like, man, you should sell it. $450, like I'll keep this painting forever. It's not about the money, right? Like, and that's like the whole life change that I've gone through.
So when I introduced you, I used the name Alex and also used the name Joel. I'm a little bit confused about this. However, just before we started our episode today, you gave me a little bit of insight into why that has happened. So how about we just kick off with that? Tell us about your name, who you are, and why this has happened. And then let's get into the episode.
I just have multiple personality disorder. No, so I mean, Joel is my God-given first name. Alexander is my middle name. So the best way to tell this is just to put it out there, right? Like, so, and I'll back up a little bit on the story and what led me into some tough times. Like I graduated from college. It was 2001, and I got into the mortgage business. And as I look back, like I had like everything was given to me in this perfect, beautiful little way, but I was too blind to realize it. I just thought, my ego was so enormous. Like all me, I did all this. I mean, like I made about $125,000 the first year out of school when I was 21 by accident in the mortgage business, right? Like I say by accident because I don't even know how it happened, right? Like it was just right place, right time. And I made a ton of money. Chuck ended up, even after he got out of school, he came and worked for me. Everybody I knew came and worked for me. So I literally became like this local superstar. One of my friends, I went to a funeral for one of our friends' moms, and I'll never forget this. So the day I die, this guy Scott comes over and he says, you're a local superstar, right? Like, talk about an ego pump. Like, I know I'm doing well and I'm making money. You're a local superstar. And man, did that go to my head, right? So fast forward a couple years later, and anybody who was in the business or old enough to know, like 2008 came and the market crashed. And I went from being very wealthy, I wasn't rich, but I had more money than I knew what to do with, thinking that maybe when I was 30, I would be able to retire, to I have nothing. I lost everything. I mean, the banks closed literally overnight. And I pulled up to the office, and I was about to get out of my car and go in, and I thought, I can't do this. I can't do this anymore. So I went home. I packed a duffel bag. We had a beach house, and I went to the beach house. Luckily, it was in the middle of the week, so we didn't have it rented out. So I knew I could just go there and get away. I mean, and like, I had a drinking problem, right? I mean, like that's the overlying theme of my college years and my 20s. I mean, I was partying, like hanging out with a bunch of salespeople, making a bunch of money, doing drugs, doing all the stuff that people, they're young and dumb and have money do. And I remember on the way to the beach house, I passed a liquor store and I said, I'm not going to stop there. Like, I'm not going to turn to liquor, right? Like, I need to go and just like cleanse myself. I need to just find peace. I need to go lay on the beach and just do nothing. So I get to the condo and I go in there, I put my bag in, I open the fridge, there's nothing in there. I open the freezer, there's a handle of Jack Daniels. The only thing in this house that you could consume is Jack Daniels. It was like the devil had a grip on me then, because it didn't take me long before that whole bottle was gone. And I just remember being so incredibly drunk, and I was like, I want to go to Atlantic City, right? Like, so imagine I left to go find some peace and lay on the beach, and instead I got drunk and tried to drive to Atlantic City. There's a ferry that takes you from the Maryland to the Delaware side. And as I was coming off the ferry, like somebody had said they saw me because I was drinking on the ferry. They said this guy is intoxicated. They let me drive off, which, I'm not blaming anybody, but I don't know why they let me off of there. But to try to arrest me later for drunk driving, I'm not placing the blame. I take off 100% of that blame. Okay, so I'm not saying that to try to get out of the story. But I ended up running from the cops, got in this crazy accident, wrecked my car. I mean, it was in the middle of the day. I was doing 120 miles an hour in a residential neighborhood. Like, thank God I didn't kill somebody or myself or worse. But, I ended up having to do time in New Jersey. Okay. So, like, and I'm talking prison time. But thank God that, and I keep it so real. Like, thank God I'm a white person in America who had money to bail myself out with cash and buy the best lawyer possible, or I'd probably just would have gotten out of prison, right? Because they were trying to give me 10 years. This was in 2000. So I ended up having to only do 6 months, right? And that brings us to why my name is Joel Alex in the most roundabout way. But I think that story, like, shows you what I've been through and shows you where I am now. I was on a listing appointment. I was imagine this. I was still doing real estate. It's funny because talking about Chuck before having his surgery, he was still working the day before his first surgery. I made more money while I was in prison than I made the year before I was in prison because I worked so hard before I went to line up all this business that my assistant could close. I mean, I was working from prison. I was making collect calls to do real estate. But I was on this appointment and the lady said, I love you. Everything seems great. Like, I'm ready to sign the paperwork. It was like a $750,000 deal. I guess it's pretty good money. And she said, but before I sign this paperwork, are you the man who faces an array of charges in Cape May, New Jersey? And my jaw just dropped and I said, yes. But at that moment, I said, when I get through this, I'm changing my name to Alex because she Googled me and that's what came up. And so I decided I was going to change my name. But funny thing is now I'm trying to change my name back to Joel. Everyone I met from when I was born until 2009 knew me as Joel. When I moved to Florida after I got out of prison, it's funny to say that out loud, right? Because I've hid from that story, right? I've been to prison, whatever, it happened. It's not me. So everybody I've met since I moved down here in 2009 to 2025 knows me as Alex. So right here for the record, I'm going to say that I'm going to change my name again to JC. And everybody's going to have to call me JC. So then everybody will just have to go with it. And you can call me Joel, you can call me Alex too, I don't care, I'll answer to it. But I'm following the path of Jesus now, so what better name to go with than my initials, Joel Colley, JC. And there's my story about my name. Didn't expect that, did you?
Okay, a lot being unpacked there. Chuck, did you know all of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know all about Alex. Like the pre-meetings, I've talked about Alex in a lot of our podcast episodes. So if you've listened to any of our last podcast episodes, you know I call him my soul brother. We know each other really, really well. We tell each other almost everything. And our past is pretty interesting as well, because if you would know our past and our friends know our past, many of our friends are like, how are you guys still friends?
Right. Let me just say something that's totally funny about the soul brother. Well, not funny. You know how much we're soul brothers? I had throat surgery on Monday. Like, I have throat issues too. Like, we're manifesting each other's pain into our body. Like, I'm healing his pain, he's healing mine. Like, I've had a problem. Like, I couldn't swallow for 2 years because I had acid reflux so bad from just not taking care of myself when I was younger that I basically spent 2023 drinking protein shakes. Like that, I mean, because I would choke. Like, my wife had to give me the Heimlich a couple of times. So it's like, I'm in a good place now. Chuck's in a good place, but we have, like, you literally have the scars to prove it. Mine are internal, but it's great. I didn't even make that connection until like this morning when I talked to Chuck on the phone. And it's like, we're on the exact same path. Like, it's crazy. Like, luckily for him, he didn't have to have as much insanity before him getting to this place, but it doesn't matter, right? Like, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. Like, right now, you can fix it, right? Like, if your life is terrible right now, if somebody's watching this and your life is absolutely terrible and you just don't want to live, like, there's still more that you can fix that. Like, you can fix it right now. Like, get up and walk outside, right? Like, smell a flower, walk in the grass barefoot, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely. And just to add a little bit more context into who you are as well, your family situation, you mentioned a wife. How long have you been married? Do you have any children?
Yep. 2 beautiful daughters. One is just about to turn 2 and one is 9. So a big gap in between there, but that's another part of my crazy story. That'll be episode 27. But, like, I call my wife my angel because she actually met me before I went to prison while I was out on bail. which is crazy that she's like, and I'm most people don't know this story, but now that they're gonna see the story, they're probably gonna think, what the heck? Like, why did you stay with him? But she saw something in me. Hey, women like a project, and she found the biggest project on earth, I think. Well, I'm gonna start a little bit back, and guess what? Chuck is involved somehow. So Chuck has no idea his involvement here. Okay. 2 years ago, so my dad, let's start with this. My dad died in 2021. When he died, I was driving home from a real estate appointment in the opposite direction of his house, and something hit me. Like, I got like an electric shock, and I said, my dad's dead. I know he's dead. You hear people talk about that thing, like when somebody close to you dies. My dad was my best friend, like soulmates. Hung out all the time. Like, we never fought, right? I mean, all that crazy stuff that I did, like, he never said anything bad to me. Like, imagine most fathers, their son is in jail and getting in trouble. Like, they probably would have written them off. He went to my bank and pulled $50,000 out and showed up like to the court with 50 grand in his hand. Like, we were best friends. I found his body. It totally ruined me. I was like, and for the next 2 years, I was seeking, like, how can I get out of this hole? Which for me, it was hell. Like, I was back in hell, right? And for there's something there with, like, we feel like if you're close to your father, like, you feel like he's never gonna die, right? Like, I noticed that because now I counsel a lot of people if I see somebody posted that their father died, I'm like, that's my calling. Like, I know how to handle this. But so after my dad passed away, I started drinking again. I was hiding it. I was going out on my wave runner out into the Gulf, like, and just, I wasn't, it wasn't like I ever stopped drinking because I was too dumb to realize, like, this is your problem, bro. Like, drinking is your only problem. So I got back into that, and then Chuck came down to visit, and we were out on that same wave runner, and I was just being stupid, and there was three of us on the wave runner, and I had given our friend's little sister my life preserver, and I didn't put the that emergency thing that I can't forget, like the emergency key, like if you fall off, like it stops, and I didn't have that on. I didn't have it on my wrist. It was just locked on there. So I was doing something stupid, and I hit a wave, and I fell off and broke a couple of my ribs, cracked some of them, and I was like in the water, no life preserver. I thought I had a punctured lung. I couldn't breathe. The girl flew off, and somehow, some way, well, we know how and why, Chuck. He was still on the wave runner, on the back, and came around and saved me, right? And then the next day, we ended up going to the Orioles game, and I got drunk just because I couldn't bear the pain. I have broken ribs. And you remember that was the first time I finally forgave you for everything that we went through, right? Like, we were at the bar after the game, and that's when we had like our real, like, we love each other moment. Like, I forgive you. Like, and it's funny that I wasn't even thinking, like, you just saved my life yesterday. Like, sorry. Thank you, Chuck. I don't think I ever actually thanked you for that. But then it all comes back because the next day, imagine this. This is going to kind of blow your mind a little bit, Chuck. As if all this other stuff didn't, the connections. I was laying in my bed on the floor, actually, on like a mattress on the floor, just back at my lowest low for like, this is like the 5th time I hit rock bottom in my life, okay? And I was in so much pain, I couldn't even move. The baby was just born. Like, I couldn't even help my wife. I felt just so pathetic. I didn't even tell her, like, what really happened, Like, I just told her I was being stupid and had an accident. I didn't tell her I was super drunk and all that. But I just started, I was like, God, like, maybe I didn't even say God. I just got on what anybody does now when they're searching for anything. They get on the internet, right? Like, I was on YouTube. And I was searching for, I don't even remember what it started at. I was probably like, help, right? Like, help, save me. But the way that I found out about ayahuasca was a Mind Valley ad popped up on my YouTube. Isn't that crazy? Like, you're just talking about Mind Valley, and I couldn't believe that. Well, he bought the program of this meditation that I did, that I taught Chuck about, that that was like trying to get myself out of this stuff. That really helped me with this whole darkness and sadness that I was in with my dad. I got into meditation. But that meditation program, the Jose Silva back from the 70s, the guy that owns Mind Valley bought his program and basically resurrected it. And that pop-up ad came on, and he said, you can reach the same levels by just doing meditation without using plant medicines like ayahuasca and blah, blah. I didn't even hear anything else, because like the way that I think, he's saying like, here's how you could do it without ayahuasca. And I said, give me the shortcut. I'm always a shortcut guy. Like, I could do this the hard way. Like, no, give me the ayahuasca. So then I started searching it, and I knew within a couple of minutes, like, I have to do this. But then the next thing was like, how am I going to convince my wife to let me go to the jungle and do this crazy psychoactive, active, like, whatever it is, given by shamans in the middle of nowhere. And at some point, within a couple of days, I was searching on the internet, and I found that there was an ayahuasca place like by Disney World. I thought I was going to have to go to the jungle, but it was 90 minutes away from my house. So I booked after quite a bit of fighting with my wife to try to explain to her like that I need to do this. You know, she thinks I'm crazy at the time, or confirmed that I'm crazy at the time. But eventually she just gave up and said, just do whatever you're gonna do. And that was her telling me no, but I took it as yes. And I said I booked it that night.
Describe what is, like you've done it a few times. So
Yeah, five times.
You're a huge advocate of plant medicine, ayahuasca. What is ayahuasca? What's the ceremony look like? Describe it for anybody that's thinking about it.
Really wild, because somehow, some way, in the Amazon jungle, it's basically like Peru and Brazil and South America. There's other parts down there. The climate is right to grow these two different plants. One is called ayahuasca. It's the vine. And there's another part that's chacruna. It's a leaf. And somehow, some way, these, basically the Amazonians, they say like the jungle is our pharmacy, right? Over thousands of years, they've just been concocting and mixing and guessing and testing, I assume. But they say that the plants told them to combine these two, right? Like they're super, super connected with, like they sleep in the jungle, right? So for them to say the plants told us to do it, I'm like, okay, maybe. So they figured out that if you break up this ayahuasca vine and take out the inside of it, put it in a pot, and you take chacruna leaves from this other plant and put it in a pot and boil it for like 3 days. Like somebody has to sit there and stir it and stir it and stir it. It's like very labor intensive. That somehow, some way it creates this tea that if you drink it, you'll have this mind-blowing, like, leave your body, maybe meet God, maybe go to hell, learn to love yourself experience that lasts for a long time. And the other thing about it that's, bizarre is the best way for me to say it, is that if you were to take either one of those separately, it would not have any effect on you. A matter of fact, they eat the chacruna leaves as like a herbal supplement. But if you mix the two together, it's like the MAOI inhibitor, I think is what they call it, that's in that chacruna leaf, allows the DMT from the ayahuasca, I could be reversing that, but you get the point, allows it to have that effect on your brain. And it allows it, I've heard it say, like, it allows it to pass the blood-brain barrier. And, for people that are looking into these kind of medicines, there's a couple of different kinds, but the common denominator is DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which is being studied in South America. It's completely illegal in the United States. The only way the way that they have these retreat centers in the U.S., and there are quite a few around, some are public and a lot of them are just kind of underground, is that they use the Religious Protection Act, and they use the ayahuasca as a sacrament, the same way that like the Catholic Church uses wine for communion. And they set these up as churches, and they're legal in the United States. And the first time I went, I just thought it was like, oh, they're just calling it a church as a loophole. But I come to find out, like, it's ayahuasca is their sacrament. Like, that is their thing that connects them to God. And I do want to say this and I feel like, we're going to get to the part where I become a Christian, and you've heard me talk about God and Jesus. So obviously, like, that's been implied. But I do want to say that for anybody that's thinking about doing this, like, this is not fun. Like, if you've done mushrooms and you've partied when you're younger, even if you did LSD or something like that, do not watch this video and say, I want to party. Like, I want to party with ayahuasca. Because that is, like, it is not enjoyable. Like, it's not fun. The after effect of it is, like, pure bliss. But it's like that, that's saying, like, you got to go through hell to get to heaven or something, like something like that. Like, you got to go through the mud and all that. Like, so you can think of a million statements like that. Like, that's what this is. And so now let's start talking about, like, what is it? What does it feel like, right? It's a feminine energy. And thank God, because if it was it's a female voice. And, the other thing I'll say is, like, disclaimer, like, results may vary. Like, if you watch a pharmaceutical commercial, like, warning, results may vary. Like, you're going to poop yourself, you're going to throw up, you're going to cry, you're going to laugh, you're going to love, you're going to hate. And somehow in this crazy chaos, like you're gonna come out of it with some like beautiful understandings about yourself. But it's funny because I talk to a lot of people and they're like, I would never do that. And the people that say that, like, obviously, like people that like aren't into like psychedelics or anything like that, like this is meant for a small piece of the population. Right? But if you're not ready to face your crap, like if you got stuff going on in your life, like you know your life's not going the right way, and you're thinking about changing and you don't want to change, like I have another friend who's gone and done this, and he's an alcoholic. I'm not going to put his name out there, but hopefully he sees this and maybe it rings a bell for him. He's done ayahuasca more times than me over the course of the last 6 months. He's addicted to ayahuasca now, like with this hope that he's going to get this healing. Like ayahuasca is not addictive, but the idea of getting this healing is. Now, Chuck will tell you he was already on this diet. Like there's this massive preparation for it, which taught me how to eat clean. I've taken care of myself, but I would still eat like fast food sometimes. It's just like high sugar or bread and carbs. Like I've been pretty good, and I've been able to exercise enough to outwork my diet sometimes, so to speak. But before you go and do this medicine, they put you on this super strict diet. Like you basically eating leaves the last week, right? Like no sugar, no alcohol, no caffeine,
No.
like no sex. Like I mean, that's like what? But it's like you keep that energy in you, like you, and if you do it right, there's some sort of a connection. I still think it's a connection to God, but like I'm still having those conversations with Christians, and they're like, "This is demons and demonic, and you're opening up portals." And my answer is yes. Like it's definitely a portal to some really crazy stuff. And like, if you're thinking about doing this, do your research. Like, don't you don't watch one video of somebody saying how great this is. Watch the video of the person, or go on Reddit and just type in ayahuasca, because you're gonna see like some people say they've done this and they don't come back from it, right? Like people that have like some mental disorders or schizophrenia or things like that. Like if you've got some stuff going on mentally, like this is probably not for you. Because like even me, like I mean, you heard my story. I've got some issues. Like I've got it together, but I've battled with like depression and anxiety, and that's part of the reason I went and did this. Uh, but like it took me about 3 months to recover. Like Chuck, I called Chuck. I was telling him the crazy stories, and like he would just put his wife Leah on the phone, and they would just listen to me. I wouldn't even know she was listening. I'm over here just talking about how I was in outer space and a shaman battled a shaman, and I learned telepathy. And I know he thought I was crazy, and I definitely thought I was crazy at the time. I mean, like the last time, I swear to you, like, and it's like I don't like to make light of this, because as I've come into understanding, like it's funny, like my story's funny, like what I saw in there, and I like to make light of anything, right? I legitimately, when I came back the last time after I spent a weekend in what felt like heaven, like I thought I was Neo from the Matrix, like straight up. Like one night I was standing in my front yard and I was looking up at the sky, and I grabbed onto the back of my head, like thinking that they were gonna pull the plug out of the back of my head. So please understand, like this is gonna screw with your mind, Chuck. Like, I've told you, like I told him everything. So the fact that he's doing it, like he feels called to do it, and I just don't take it lightly, like there's healing in there, but there's like you're gonna see the worst of yourself. And if you try to hide from it, ayahuasca knows you. That's why I say, like, I feel like it's God. Like this medicine has this intelligence. Like it was talking to me. And I had these beautiful intentions the first night. How do I be a better father? How do I be a better son? How do I be a better husband? Right? Like beautiful, beautiful intentions. And I drank this medicine, and and like a half an hour in, I wasn't feeling anything. You were just sitting in a circle in this weird room. The shamans were like, he looks like he's from the jungle. He's wearing feathers, and I'll give you a picture of him so you can put it up later when this goes live. But I remember opening my eyes and saying, "What the heck did I do?" I brought my mom with me too, by the way. There's that.
Yeah.
And I brought my mom to this bozo show. You remember the bozo show, like the clown? I was like, clown over here, and I just drank this, and nothing's happening. And I just was having all these negative thoughts, and like right before they get called to give the second shot, I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, and something just went whoosh, like in across my vision, and I was like, oh, like okay, something's here. Oh, but see, I gotta back it up, because they blow this crazy tobacco up your nose first to open it up, which Chuck is about to find out Friday, and it's like opens you like it kind of like they blow this tobacco up your nose. It's this beautiful ceremonial thing, and it's just awful. And you just sit down and you just feel like you're just completely wide open. Like your thoughts go blank, and you like imagine like the Om mantra, right? Like they blow this up your nose, and you just sit down. And you're just like, oh, and that's some first, that's part of this thing that these guys figured out in the jungle, right? Blow. I'm gonna tell a little insight on the way there. My mom picked me up from my house. It's funny, my mommy picked me up to take me to do ayahuasca, right? I never thought of it like that before. So my mommy picked me up to do ayahuasca, and I was running late because I'm always like 15 minutes late, and she was pissed. And I had a deal going on. Like I had to sit in the back and basically set up my office in the back of her car. She thought I was gonna drive. She was so nervous, but she will never admit when she's nervous. I'm like, Mom, just relax. Like, I know you're freaking out right now. I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. And the energy was just so terrible. I was working the whole way trying to save this deal until I got it figured out. Like, the deal closed right when we pulled into the parking lot at that place, Soul Quest in Orlando, which is closed now. And that's another story. And this guy that's at the front, like, I knew instantly that I was in a safe place. This guy was like light skinned, like looked like light skinned black guy. Looked, he was from the jungle, had like this crazy wild hair that was like multicolored, and his smile went from like ear to ear, right? Like literally, like it looked like his smile was like all of his face. And he was like, "Hi, welcome to Soul Quest," and I just knew we were in a safe place. So they bring you in, you check in. They have a medic. Like most of these places have like. Just another thing, like if anybody's thinking about doing this and it's not in a safe place that has a medical professional on site, I wouldn't suggest you do it. Even a lot of the places in the South America now have like they're legitimized. Don't go do this in somebody's basement, okay? So they're checking your blood work. Like you have to stop taking all your medication. Like if you're on antidepressants or anything like that, you got to stop. So a lot of people can never get to this because like people that are addicted to opiates. Like I have a friend that wants to do ayahuasca, but he can't get clean off of just the Suboxone that the doctor is giving him because it screw with you. So they bring you in, the doctor talks to you, asks you a few questions, and they clear you. I mean, they're not like drug testing you or anything. They trust that you're gonna tell the truth, and and then you go back, and so it's like a big, beautiful complex. There's like a 4-acre property, and it's just like the best way I can describe it is like it's modern day hippies, right? Like everybody there they're so happy, they're dancing around, and you're like. Like me growing up, like the hippies, no thank you. Like spirituality, I got none. Those like none, zero. And they're wearing beads. Like look at me now. Like I don't go anywhere without my power bracelets and my tree of life. And I just knew instantaneously like I'm in a safe place here. So they do this. So they bring you into this cool thing called a maloka. Imagine like a massive teepee, and there's 100 people sitting around in this teepee. And they start to tell you things, and like there's a guy that does shadow work. If I'm sure you're familiar with that, right? The guy comes, he's like a shadow work specialist, and he's explaining he's speaking in parable, right? Like he's explaining all these things about ayahuasca and what it's going to be. And then he says, I'll never forget this. He says, the most important thing I can tell you, and everybody perks up like, oh, he's going to tell you something like super powerful. He says, never trust an ayahuasca fart. And that's the advice for you today, Chuck. If you think you're gonna fart, go to the toilet because it's not. Like it comes out of you, okay? Like it literally pushes negative energy out of you. Like if you got anything bad left in your body, Chuck, that surgery didn't get, you might poop it out this weekend.
You've never told me that before. That's really funny.
No. Well, it just came to me, as I was preparing for this. I think I was telling Ed this before we got on. Like in just preparing for this, like I remembered 100 things that I didn't remember before. Like, and that was from October of 2023. It's still in there. Like it's like, think of this, like everything that you've ever seen in your whole life, like you might not remember it right now if I ask you about it, but ayahuasca will pull that out. Like it's in your brain. Your brain has all, like it's in there somewhere, right? And it literally pulls stuff out of you. Like it will dance with you. It will play with you. Like, look at this pretty color over here. And like, I saw colors that I'd never seen before. They started playing, like the shaman started playing the guitar, and they sing these beautiful icaros, and it's like chanting almost, I guess. And which, at first I was like, it was just so weird, right? I've never seen anything like this. But as soon as the medicine started kicking in, I just instantly felt like this oneness, right? Like you hear about that oneness with everything, like, oh, this is beautiful. And then I started tasting the music. Like I could taste the music, right? Like I was seeing colors I'd never seen before. And then this was all eyes closed, right? And then we do the second shot. Have everybody come up, do the second shot. And then you go back, and this is where I knew, like, okay, like something's really happening here. This guy, you have a mat that they like imagine a mat, like a futon mat, like a cheap one that you can fold out and you can roll, like, so you're sitting on a chair before. But after that, this guy took the mat out and laid it out on the ground, and I was like, I was kind of like, the medicine was definitely kicking in. I don't know if you call it high, a little high, whatever. I just looked over and was like, that's a great idea. I'm going to put the mat out. So I rolled the mat out so I could get closer to the music, and I laid down on my chest, and I put my hands on the floor. The floor is concrete. So like imagine like cold concrete, right? Like in an empty room. And I put my hands down on the concrete, and I just kind of laid down, and I was just really feeling it. And all of a sudden, the concrete was like, like the floor is lava, the game that the kids play. It was like the floor is lava. Like I was like, I jumped up, like it was burning my hands. Like that's how intense this, like now I was like, okay, like this is definitely working now. And it went right from that to this like wild craziness to bam, took me to, I started reliving my childhood. And it showed me every beautiful memory that I had with my dad, every single one of them. Like my Minority Report. We've talked about this, right? I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, where he's pulling up the screens and he's like pulling up, like trying to watch the crimes. That happened to me a couple of times during the ayahuasca journey, and I've heard other people say that too. Like they say that it gives you what you want, but not what you need. So if anybody going into this, and Chuck, we've talked about this too.
Is it the other way around?
It's not about what you like, and I think the point is like people think they have an idea of what they need. They think that what they want is what they need. It almost never aligns, right? Like what you need is, you probably don't even realize it. And this really like puts it up, like here you go, like this is what you need. And next thing I knew, I was purging. There's a big misconception. Like people talk about this puking, right? It's like more like a gagging, and it's just energy coming out of you. Like I would have sworn that I puked out a 5-gallon trash can, and then after the experience was over, I looked down and like it was just the ayahuasca, and I'll never forget looking down, and being like, "What? I thought it was everywhere." Like everybody thinks it's like energy coming out of you of pain. But I purged out all of the energy of losing my dad, like all the pain and all the sorrow and the suffering of the 3 years that I've been going through with my dad. I mean, like. You hear people say like ayahuasca is like 10 years worth of therapy in one night. Like for me, it was like 10,000 years worth of therapy in one night. But I also I still feel inclined to keep saying, because I really have glorified this medicine. Like I just don't want a bunch of people to jump out there and be like, I want to do this. Like if you're seeking something spiritually, like with Chuck, he's like I already know what, like he wants to do, like ask the universe or ayahuasca or God, like what is, like why me, right? Like why is this happening to me, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was really it's funny because I think back as you're telling the story of all the times you called and I put you on speakerphone, and I'm just kind of, sometimes I'll be driving, the kids are in the car and they're all listening to Joel's story. He doesn't even know it. But I remember looking over at Leah a couple of times, and we're just kind of laughing, like this is crazy stuff. But we're enjoying the story. And I remember talking to Leah a couple of times saying, this is something, I even told you this. I was like, I would never do this. I would never do this. The chemicals in my brain, like I'm pretty stable. Like I don't have depression. I don't have anxiety. I didn't think I had anxiety until I realized and learned what anxiety was from the movie Inside Out 2. And I was like, maybe I do have anxiety. So I never had anxiety attacks. So it wasn't until this second go around of collapsing on the floor after I felt a lump, thinking, all right, this is it. I'm done. And just fast forwarding to my death and the spirit of me looking back and watching my kids grow up, and waiting for the results of going to get an actual scan done the day after collapsing on the floor, and then the doctor saying, oh, you're good. So roller coaster, constant roller coaster. And then I got the blood work back a week later and it wasn't good. And then another scan to find out what it is that. And it just, that up and down of essentially that reoccurring. I looked at Leah when we were in the kitchen right after I found out that it was cancer again for sure. And I said, I need to do ayahuasca. I need a deeper knowing. I need to I need to make sure that I would like that my goal and my intention of going into it. And again, it's make sure I'll get what I need. And I hope what I need is this is that if when outside circumstances happen to me again and again and again, because that's life, that I can stay centered and calm and understand and have a deep knowing that everything's going to be okay.
Just to have like a completely objective understanding, this is not like a normal psychedelic where you might have a trip for like a few hours or a day or 1 or 2 days. Like you spoke about that it took you 2 to 3 months before the effects passed. Like, are you able to go back to work and function as a normal person? Like, can I expect Chuck to be, like fit for work a week later, or is he offline for 3 months?
No, he won't be. I think my circumstances were extreme. Like I really feel like I was selected to be like a representative in America to figure this out. Like I know that sounds like I don't think that much of myself, right? Like I like this medicine literally killed my ego. Like I literally no, I didn't literally die. Thought I died. I started to say I literally died and I was resurrected. No, like I thought I died. That's like if you die in that this weekend, Chuck, like you got what you came there for. And I think that's what's gonna happen. Like and it's what it showed me is this, right? Like and to answer your question, he'll be back to work next week. Just give him a couple days off. Okay? Like you shouldn't go right back to work after this. I went back to work the next day, the first time, and that was a huge mistake. Because like the world doesn't look the same to you. Like you need like a decompression to come back like you're in some other dimension and just seeing things you've never seen before. Like it's mind-boggling. I can't even like the words that I'm describing all of this to you like they don't exist in there. It's something else. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day like we have the like BD like the dimensions we're in. Like when I was in there I was seeing like dimensions that I was like, I don't even know what that is. Right? It's not like you're going to it's not like going to an amusement park that you've never been to before and like, wow, look at that ride. I've never seen that before. You're seeing stuff that like I've never like that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in this dimension. So I don't have it figured out yet either, right? And I don't think the point is that any of us really ever do. But it gives me, I have some sort of a peace now. Like I was afraid of death forever. I mean, I almost choked to death a couple times. I can only imagine Chuck. He's going to the doctor, just waiting for them to tell him you're gonna die, right? Like that's how you were before. This takes you through the experience of death. You hear people talking about near-death experiences. Like when I watch those videos now, I'm like, it's 1 to 1. Like that's the same, whatever that place that they are. Like I think that's the place where ayahuasca takes you to, and it just completely erases this fear of death. Like I'm not jumping out in traffic and just like taking risks now, but I know that the funniest thing that I finally came to this realization, and I help other people realize now. I look them right in the face and I say, "You're gonna die. You're gonna die. I'm gonna die. Let's just accept that now and and when it's your time, like it's gonna happen. Take care of yourself. Be as healthy as you can. Try to live as long as you can." So that when you're older and you have kids, that you can actually still function with them. It's like it's like so sad how many older people that I see that are just crippled, right? Like they're quadriplegics, but they still have their full body, right? Like they're not doing anything. Like and the best time to start taking care of yourself is right now, right? Like it doesn't matter what you've done before this. It doesn't matter. Like so many people are just lost. Like I'm fat and I'm out of shape and I eat bad. Like, and I can't even get off the couch, right? Well, like you get off the couch and take 10 steps. Do 1 push-up, right? Do a squat. Like eat a salad, right? And I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but I know that that's the point of what you guys are doing, right? Like and I understand, like, after doing this medicine, I just have this understanding of everything. Like, I thought that I downloaded all the information that ever existed. Remember I told you that,
Mm-hmm.
Chuck?
Yep.
And then after I did it, like, when I came back in my body, I was like, oh no, I have the whole universe in my stomach, and I got to get it out of here. And it took me like an hour to purge that energy out. It was just so powerful. First time I drank 3 times. The second time I drank 2, because after the second ceremony, the medicine said to me, "You're done." So I don't even know if I'm going to ever drink it again. As a matter of fact, during that ceremony, I spent the whole time in what I can only describe as heaven. But heaven in a context where there is no time, right? So imagine that. And Chuck helped me. Chuck has helped me unpack some of this stuff. Remember, we were talking, and I was like, oh. So I felt like I was in heaven, right? Like it was just all beauty, love, light, like the most pure. Like every molecule in my body was vibrating in this like frequency of heaven, whatever that is. And then, but I didn't understand the context at the time because it's just bizarre. Like it doesn't make sense. You don't understand what's going on. You're like, am I human? Am I me? Like you just don't even know. But time doesn't exist there. And I'm making so many connections now with spirituality and religion. And I'm like getting into really difficult conversations with people that are like, the Bible says you can't do plant medicine, right? I'm like, well, show me where. Like, I want to see it. Because I've been reading the Bible and I'm seeing things in there that say that they were doing plant medicine, like the acacia tree, which is like has DMT and all that, so prove me wrong, I guess, because all I can say is what it did for me.
Now, I've just heard you say that you did I guess you drank it 3 times during a weekend. So we're talking about an entire weekend at the place, right? Is that what Chuck's doing? He's going for an entire weekend?
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, so the place where I went closed down for some reasons that have nothing to do with ayahuasca, unfortunately. But the place where he's going was the person who was basically the second in command at the place Soul Quest where I went. She now runs this place. So I've tied into this community because I saw the power of this medicine and I was heartbroken. It closed 3 days after I was there and went to heaven, by the way, which is another like the coincidences of the universe. Like I'm looking around now, like, am I on a reality show? Like I feel like I'm on the Truman Show sometimes. Like I'm waiting for the like surprise. Like this is like we're all in on it, right? Like everything seems to be so incredibly connected. But I'm actually taking them there on Friday because I'm gonna stay until they start the ceremony because I just want to be in the presence of these people. These people are just light and love. Like the people that are facilitating this medicine, they don't have an agenda, right? Like they're like most of them are not trying to make money. The reason that the place I went to shut down was the guy who owned it just got kind of a God complex and like turned it into a business. The business of like we got to make money. We have to make money to exist. So there's nothing wrong with that. But to what extent? So I had problems with anxiety and depression, and I had taken the pharmaceutical pills off and on my whole life. And I had stopped. The beauty of this is like you have to stop taking all those medications just to show up and do this medicine, right? And if I was going to do this, I was going to do it 100%. That's just how I do everything. Like if I'm going to commit to something, I'm doing it 100%. So I stayed off those medications for a very long time, and I was happy. Like my life felt like it was falling into place. That like I was having success at work. But something crept in. If I really think about it, I could probably figure out what it was. Like the anxiety started to come back a little bit, and then I started to get depression. And that whole swallowing thing, like I couldn't really eat, right? Like I had anxiety about eating. Like that was kind of bizarre. And so all that negative emotion started coming back, and I just was like, I got to go back there. I have to go back and do it. And so my wife was resistant to it again. She just doesn't and that's another thing to put out there. Like think about your partner here. Like Chuck's wife is supportive of this, but my wife like hates it and thinks it's demonic and it's like I'm not like when I came back I was just different, which people think like, oh, this is going to change me for the better. Well, she said to me something that was really profound. She said, "You're different now. Like you're not the man I married." And I'm thinking like that guy sucked. Why do you want to be with him? But you have to be empathetic to that. Is that even though you're on this life journey, this quest to get better, like you have to respect the fact that the people around you might not want that. Like the people that love you for you, right? Like you might not love yourself for you, but I guess they love you for you, or else they wouldn't be there, right?
Do you have any feel of wanting or any desire that there's still more to be uncovered, or do you feel now that you've achieved that need or that level that you were searching for at the beginning?
Well, see, let me reference what I saw when I was in that heaven zone, okay, and during that last ceremony. I'll never forget. It's like I was really in it. Like it's like you're in heaven, but if you're in heaven for eternity, like imagine this: if you're stuck in heaven, right, in this ayahuasca trip, at some point it turned into hell. I was like, I'm stuck here in heaven, right? Like, and I need to go back, right? Like, so imagine how twisted that thought is, right? And I remember opening my eyes and I looked at all the volunteers because there's basically one volunteer for every two people at most of these places. Like it's super hands on. Like they're there, they're just sitting back watching you. But what I've realized through all this is that there's another side to this. Like if you're lost or broken and you feel like you need to be healed, you go do one of these plant medicines or do anything that brings you healing, right? It could be yoga, it could be a meditative practice, whatever it is. But people that get into healing, like people that go to get healed for something, like we all need healing, right? I'm sure you guys got into wellness because you have your story of how you found healing, right?
Right.
So I was sitting there and went like going through this heaven, like I call it a Zengasm. Like my body was like vibrating for 4 hours. And I opened my eyes and they were just smiling. Like they were so happy. Every one of the volunteers was looking at me and it was like bizarre. And it clicked to me right there because you go. It's like you're not totally out there. Like I would pop up and start writing in my journal, right, and be totally coherent, and then close my eyes and be like in outer space. Seeing those people, how happy they were, seeing me be healed, is that now I feel called. I want to be on the other side. As a matter of fact, during the first time I was at Soul Quest during the second ceremony, I raised my hand and said, "How can I become a volunteer?" And the lady came over and said, "Not now. Now is not the time to be volunteering." But I'll never forget that because I knew in my heart and my soul, like I want to be a part of helping people experience this. But I also now, it can be done anyway, right? Like I just counsel people, right? Like I just help people. I've all of a sudden I'm like a divorce, like a marriage counselor. I'm like just help. Like people are coming to me from out of nowhere and just like, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And I love it, right? So for me, I don't know if I'll ever sit with the medicine again. Like that's what they call it, sitting with the medicine. But I'll know like if I start to fall off track again. But I think it gave me enough tools that I don't necessarily need to ever go back down that crazy path again. Because it's like I said at the beginning, like it's not fun. Like this is not enjoyable. Like who wants to throw up and have diarrhea? And it is real. It's just really uncomfortable. Like I guess it's poison, right? Like you're putting some poison in your body that causes this whole thing to happen. But it's from the earth, like it's plants. Like I say poison, but maybe it's not. I don't know. Whatever it does, it triggers a reaction to purge out all this negative energy. So it's like I don't even know what it is, right? Like it's magic or it's God's like, "Hey, here guys, like if you need to get healed,
Yeah.
here's a thing that you can go in the jungle and find."
Yeah, I really appreciate that you've had a very objective explanation of this experience. So for people that are watching and considering or just curious, that they're understanding the big picture. You're not just a guy that's talking about the positives. However, for you that they were very, very positive.
Yeah.
Like the final outcome is that you've gained a lot from it.
Yeah.
You've also expressed some of the things that people may expect, which are not so pleasant as well, which is fair and good. Maybe just sort of summarize like the miracles and transformations that have occurred in your life since the journey. So let's say life after plant medicine for Alex. How do you describe?
Yeah. I got to go back into the plant medicine to tell you a quick little story, which is the most important piece of the puzzle for me here, okay? So I was telling you about those. And remember the intentions I said before, like be a better husband, be a better son, be a better father, right? So the second day, like the daytime ceremony, and I can't wait to talk to Chuck about this, like it's different energy, like the energy of sunlight versus the energy of darkness. It was totally different. It was like love. It was like the love zone. I was asking those questions, and I could see like that thing up on the screen, like how to be a better, and it showed me like instead of it didn't take me to chaos. It was like how do I be a better husband, and it showed me. And I was in the bedroom helping my wife fold laundry, and it said, "Don't tell her you love her, show her you love her." Right? Like these really beautiful, like it was like I got the exact answer to the question exactly how I posed it. But then as I finished the last one popped up on the screen. Learn how to love yourself unconditionally, and it shot up to the number one on the list like that. Like I'm looking out in the air, and that's what I saw with my eyes open. It was bizarre, but I was like, it was clearly showing me like, those are beautiful intentions, but you have to learn how to love yourself. And I like that was what I was like. I had to get up. I was like, I got to take a walk, go to the bathroom. Like this is crazy. And I went into the porta pot, and there's enough sunlight coming in there that you could see, like you could see your reflection in the water in the bottom of the porta pot. And I couldn't make this up if I tried. I learned how to love myself by seeing my reflection in the poop and pee water in a porta pot on ayahuasca, because I looked down and I said, "I love you unconditionally." Like that's where I learned how to love myself. And I went back to my seat and I bear hugged myself for like a half an hour and I just cried hysterically. Like I just cried the most beautiful, like just total release, like tears just like uncontrolled. I would open my eyes and look at the person next to me and they're just like, what is going on? And I just didn't care. It was just beautiful. Like I literally learned, like I learned how to love myself in that moment. And I never loved myself before that moment. Like, it was so easy. It was like just hug yourself until you love yourself, right? But you beat yourself up your whole life. So for me, like that was number one. That was the number one thing that I got out of this. So and I've taken that into my personal life now. Like it showed me that my past is my past and live in the present, right? Live in love. Like I gotta open my journal. I think this is what I wrote down during the day of the last time. Remember the past. Learn from the past, live in love in the present, manifest the future you desire and deserve.
So this is a great opportunity for people who are curious to actually see a before and after. So Chuck has never done this before. He's probably never done anything like it at all. Explain now, the week before going into it, where is your mind at and what do you hope or need to get out of this? And then we can revisit this next week when we have our next episode after.
Yeah, this is not planned this way, by the way, to have an episode the week of me doing ayahuasca with Joel, who's done ayahuasca 5 times. And then you get to see kind of the aftermath of someone that's about, the pre-math and the aftermath. But it's beautiful how it's worked itself out, right? I am still figuring out exactly what my intentions are. But as I said before, ultimately, yes, I want to know why. Why have I gone through this? I think I ultimately already know why, and that's to have found God. And I can talk about that when Joel brings up in episode 25 how he found Jesus, because Joel's been a part of that journey for me. But ultimately, I want to know me wholly, and I want to understand my purpose. What's the reason that God put me here? So that I can passionately follow that path with no doubt.
That's a beautiful intention, for sure. I hope you get that answer, and you probably will. But just don't expect that you will, because she might show you the inside of your cells.
Yeah, and that's what's today's episode has certainly helped me remember and understand and believe that I'm going into this with that intention, but I'm okay with whatever comes out.
Well, Alex and Chuck, it's been an incredibly insightful episode today. A lot of information to unpack, and I'm going to be watching this episode over a few times to understand more deeply about the experience as well. I had no idea about this coming into this episode. I don't live in USA. I'm living in Asia, and this type of thing is absolutely not available over here. So it's been very enlightening for me and for other people to watch as well. So Chuck, I want to ask you first, maybe your top 2 or 3 golden nuggets that you've taken out of the episode today.
I would say don't go into a therapy like an ayahuasca ceremony with any intentions. Go into it with a clear mind, clear heart, and be ready for whatever comes. Don't do it unless you're totally ready. Do a lot of research. Don't let this be the only episode that you ever watch about ayahuasca. And then, of course, stick around for the next episode because you're going to see what my experience was like. And at least the first week of unwrapping, my experience was like.
Yeah, well, I would say, like, this is confusing, right? Like, life is confusing. Like, imagine what I just said here today. Like, as I'm sitting here thinking of what I just said, like, I went and did this most hallucinogenic plant medicine on the planet to find myself and to find love and ultimately find God, right? Like, and I had no clue that was what this even was. Like, I was just sad, right? Like, so the main thing I want to make sure that people understand is, like, this is not the only way. Like, this is so extreme that I would challenge people to say, like, try everything else first, maybe. Just like everything I'm telling you, like, I did a lot of things before this, right? Like, I wasn't like, I'm sad, I'm going to go do ayahuasca, right? Like, went to the doctor and got medication, and I did meditation and exercise and diet, and I did a whole lot of things. Like, this was a last resort for me. And a lot of they're using this to help soldiers with PTSD who are like suicidal. They go do this and then like the next day they're not suicidal anymore. So this is not for like, hey, I'm feeling a little sad, I'm going to go do ayahuasca. Like, that's not it. Like, if you feel like you're broken, like, this is a solution for being broken. But that's everything for me. Is like, try other ways first. And if they don't work, then maybe do this.
As you said, everyone is searching, everyone is suffering, everyone has experiences throughout their life that have shaped who they are. And this is one way that helps some people to be able to unpack all of that and make sense of it and hopefully come out the other side with all of the positive benefits as well. And I'm certainly, cheering for Chuck going into this. You're brave, but you're very open-minded and I guess courageous going into this. So I'm very, very interested to discuss and listen to your experience a week after as well, if you're online, if you don't disappear into the Amazon jungle. So now go do the best things in life. Bring the fight to this world while you can. Make the most of the rest of your life. Shine your light on this world while you can.